All right, folks, welcome back to CryptoCash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. We're taking a look at AAVE. Now, this is strictly just a technical analysis. There's no fundamentals here. If you have insight on the fundamentals, please comment below. Love to hear that. But we're really just looking at the charts to see if we can help you find a good entry point. Also understand a little bit more about best practice too, because I think cryptocurrency is lacking in those things. So hopefully you learned something from this. If you do, comment below, like and subscribe, all the above, right? Bear in mind, this is for educational purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor. Always do your own research. Okay? Always do that. Now, I do have a link in the description for my Patreon account if you'd like to show your support and do find benefit. There's a link in the description as well for my Telegram community and $25 in Bitcoin from Voyager if you're interested. So without further ado, let's go and check it out. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at AAVE. And before we do, if you're new to the channel, I always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first, just kind of get a baseline on the market so we can look at the top two coins in the industry, the largest market cap, to understand what's going on and their influence in other altcoins. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin. And just so you know, I always use, well, not always, but for the most part, majority of my videos, you'll see I'm using Binance desktop application within the TradingView chart, and then you can find that up here in the top right hand corner if you're not already familiar. Okay, now this is Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart once more, and just note that the current support level is at 43,000. Next major resistance is 47,000 approximately, more like 46.7, and of course we got a lot of resistance levels up here, not even going to bother mentioning because they're a little ways off and it's unlikely they'll be tested in the immediate future. All moving averages are traveling above, which essentially just means that there's a lot of room for improvement for Bitcoin, as we more than likely already know, right? Because I'm sure everyone's super happy and super thrilled with Bitcoin right now. Anyways, sarcasm aside, let's look at Ethereum. And this is a 4-hour chart for Ethereum as well. Something to note here too is just that Ethereum is performing similarly to Bitcoin. And this is likely just because of the fact that people are migrating to other coins, such as ADA. So just bear in mind that ADA is growing in market cap size, and Ethereum is essentially staying somewhat the same. Okay, and that being said, you'll notice that the price, instead of increasing like usual when Bitcoin goes down, is all the capitalization is going elsewhere. Not exactly just ADA, but that is an example of one that is kind of surviving and outlasting Bitcoin by kind of working on the inverse, if that makes sense. Again, it's not perfect, but it's just something to note, something to be aware of. And this is again, Ethereum. One last thing to note as well is that the 50 and 100-day moving averages are currently as resistance lines. So you just note that as well, because the price is kind of working itself into this channel. So let's look at AAVE. I've always liked AAVE. It's been a pretty good one, of course. It's easy to like, considering the price action. I wish I'd caught that major spike and invested earlier, but AAVE, it is what it is. Really good, general fundamentals. Do your own research, of course, but this one has some good fundamentals there. There's a reason why the price is where it's at. But with the technicals, let's just go ahead and work our way down for the 1-day, 4-hour, 15-minute, and 1-minute chart. So for the 1-day chart, looking here, as we can see, price went up way too fast, way too quick, and essentially had to come back down, right? We normally see this a lot when the price comes up this much. Holy cow. At one point it was about over 600%. Again, that's just coming down from like the 60s and 70s when I know the price was even lower in the 20s. So that being said, such a huge increase, it's no surprise it comes back down, but note also that most decreases that have this kind of increase, the retracement, so to speak, almost always go halfway down. So, split the difference, it goes up to 660, probably came down, there you go, right around 320, 330. So no surprise there, that's kind of standard. And then just looking at the moving averages, 100 and 50-day moving averages are working as support levels, not enough data for the 200. And looking at the RSI, still in good shape, even with the recent price action. I like that it's calmed down a little bit. We're looking at under 70. Again, over 70 is not a problem. It's when it gets closer to 80 that we really start seeing a potential reversal. Okay, so that is AAVE. Let's look at the 4-hour chart now. 4-hour chart looks about the same, not much difference. We do see a large amount of volume, which is something to be mindful of. A lot more price action here as well, which is good. That obviously shot the price up, retraced, increase to test its created a major resistance level at about 630 and came back down, and it's trying to test it again. Doesn't look like it was successful. So let's go ahead and mark this here. I would say 620 is pretty realistic of a resistance. It was tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in the past week. Okay. So bear in mind, the more often a resistance level is tested, the more likely it could be broken and become a stronger support. So we're hoping for that, but there's also a chance too that it could continue to reject and work itself into a channel in between the moving averages and the resistance level, which would also be good because there's likelihood of a breakout when that happens. So as you can see, the 50-day and the 100-day moving averages are kind of pushing the price up, and that is a good sign. Okay. So that is what we're going on there with the 4-hour. RSI is kind of standard, pretty normal. Even though we did the recent price increase, it is not super high. Just something to note as well, I like to point this out when I have the examples. With the RSI, again, this isn't a full system, it isn't like 100%, but when the RSI creeps up over 70, you want to pay attention to possibly sell, because it's considered overbought. Again, you don't just see 70 and sell. That's not the way it works, because if you'd done that here, you would have missed out on half of the gains. The important thing to note is to see if the RSI is getting closer to 80, which it was almost at 80 before it fell off. As soon as you see an RSI at like 75 or higher, that's likelihood of a break pumping session. In other words, slow down, calm down, take some profits, wait for it to fall down and reinvest. That's usually what I do, and it's fairly successful, but again, there's no foolproof plan, because if you look way back at this previous increase, like the RSI would, look at that, I mean, what is it, 89 at one point. Obviously it come crashing back down eventually, but the RSI can still be over 70 and 80 and still be just fine. It's really how it ramps up, right? So if you see like a period of consolidation in between each increase and the RSI is still staying over 70, that's fine. But when we just see like a sharp, dramatic increase, has to come back down, just like we see right here, that increase from 418 to 607. What kind of growth was that? Yeah, like that, 45, almost 50%. And that was a pretty short time frame too. And that was what, 1 day we saw that increase, or less. 12, 16 hours. So yeah, just something to be mindful about. Try to think about that. Again, this is a 4-hour chart. We're looking at the 15 next, see if we can find a good entry point. Just generally understand what's going on here. So as we already addressed, 620 is the resistance level. We'll just go ahead and mark that on the 15. And we'll disable the moving averages, because I personally don't like to use the moving averages, the EMA on the 15 or lower. I stick with the VWAP and the EMA 15. Now the EMA 15 is nice because it's kind of splitting the difference between the 9 and the 20, so you might see that as defaults. I use that just because it works better for me. Again, use what works best for you, but EMA 15 seems to be the best indicator for the kind of price action I like to use. Now, bear in mind, these prices are violent, strong, fast. So an EMA in an extremely volatile market can give you false signals. So it's not a foolproof thing, but if you use it in conjunction with the VWAP, you are much better off. What I mean by that here is this volume weighted average price is essentially just a 24-hour volume of what's happened, what's been traded in AAVE over the last 24 hours, expressed as an average price. Okay, so right now AAVE, based on how it's trading, both bulls and bears together, all the volume, the green and red volume is essentially 573. So it's not a significant variance there, right? So the variance in price between that and there, that's under 10%, which is usually a good sign. Because when you see a variance of over that, I would say closer to 10% or more, then it's an indication of a sell signal. Okay, so let's take a look here. We're looking at this guy here, 524, and look at that. So you see that retracement there? The VWAP line was so much lower, it was 12% lower, almost 13% lower than the actual price action, and the price had to come back down. Okay, so just something to be mindful of. That's kind of how that works. Not foolproof, but it is a really good indicator of what's going on. So I like the fact that the price is up here and the VWAP's down here. It's not a terrible difference, not a terrible variation. The only thing is this resistance line. If it breaks through, then we're looking pretty good. That being said, the EMA 15 really just tells us right now that the price is bullish. Could reverse, we'll pay attention, but if you see back here, it jumped, it bounced, and it came back down. That's because it was overextended. If it bounces right now, it may not come down. It might continue to work itself into a channel and eventually break. So I couldn't tell you one way or the other what's going to happen, but I can tell you that I like the indicators here. I do feel like that resistance level is fairly strong, so there is a likelihood of a reversal. Probably won't be super significant or super sharp, but it might slowly work its way back down. I hope it doesn't, but that is potential. Looking at the 1 minute chart, let's just quickly identify this here. Yeah, it's just kind of trying to do its consolidation thing right now. Not a lot to note. It's hard to take entry in a scenario like this. I would wait for the price to come back down, bounce off VWAP, and to test it at least to see what happens. And what we want on the 1 minute chart is the price to come down, bounce off that line there, the VWAP line at approximately 575, and to see what happens. In other words, you want to see at least 3 solid green bars in the 1 minute chart, or on the 15 minute chart, at least 2 solid 15 minute green bars, essentially 2 green bars closing, candlestick closing, to essentially signify a bullish momentum. Okay. Again, that's just things that I look for. There's things I look for and try to identify. But I have a very tight risk. I'm risk averse, right? So whenever I take entry, I plan to take entry and get a 2% gain and no more than a 1% loss, right? My risk tolerance is 2 to 1. Most people in crypto don't have one. I would venture to guess their risk tolerance is 10 and 0. Or 10 and 10, I guess you could say, a 1-to-1 ratio, so to speak. So they're okay with losing $1,000 or gaining $1,000. I prefer only to lose $10 and gain 20, if that makes any sense. You may think that that's crazy, but I'm consistently profitable and I'm growing my portfolio by 1% daily. And that is the growth that I like to see, because that's exponential growth and that gets me where I need to go. So just again, please be cautious, please be careful. I will have videos moving forward regarding risk tolerance and how to effectively manage that. But in the in-between, of course, just be smart about your entries. Don't just jump in because the price is super high and it looks like it's going to explode. That's the time you get wrecked, right? Do your research, do your smart thing, and wait for the resistance level to be tested and see how it reacts. If it jumps above and it holds for confirmation, just say for no less than 30 to 60 minutes, then perhaps you want to consider taking entry. But if it comes up above, don't just buy in because it broke the resistance level. It could be a false positive, it could come back down, and it could get you hit hard. And if you do all that without a risk tolerance and some type of stop limit, you're going to be in bad shape. So yeah, hopefully you understood what I'm referring to here. I hope you find benefit in this content. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Join my Patreon for a private Discord channel, but also a free Telegram community as well. We got some good people there. That is all I have. Once more, hope you have a good rest of your day. Really appreciate your time. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.